Hello, we come to chapter 7 of the Screwtape letters. As we're looking in this, we see that Wormwood is told, when the humans disbelieve in our existence, we lose all the pleasing results of direct terrorism, and we make, we'll start over again. Hello, as we come to chapter 7, Wormwood is getting advice from Screwtape. The first line he says is, I wonder you should ask me whether it is essential to keep the patient in ignorance of our own existence. He says that question, or at least at the present phase of the struggle, has been answered for us by the High Command. Our policy for the moment is to conceal ourselves. Of course, has not always been so. We are faced with a cruel dilemma. When the humans disbelieve our existence, we lose all the pleasing results of direct terrorism, and we make no magicians. On the other hand, when they believe in us, we cannot make them materialists and skeptics. Again, if they don't believe in the devil, they're not going to recognize the terrors that the devil will try to throw their way. However, if on the other hand, if you're totally a materialist, a devil as a spirit makes no sense. Devils won't have any power. But of course, we know, as Christians, we're stuck in the middle. We're not to be either of those extremes. We acknowledge the existence of the devils, but we also know that they don't have absolute power over us, that their terrors that they might try to throw at us are nothing compared to what God has the power to do. So as Screwtape is going on, for some reason, this is one of those really memorable paragraphs, or at least several sentences, that from the first time I ever read the book. In fact, the fact that devils are predominantly comic figures in the modern imagination will help you. If any faint suspicion of your existence begins to arise in his mind, suggest him a picture of something in red tights, and persuade him that since he cannot believe in that, it's an old textbook method of confusing them, therefore he cannot believe in you. Again, sometimes we get that image of the devil, used to be, on the corned beef can, I think it was the Hormel, wasn't it? With the devil with the horns and the pointed tail and the pitchfork. We have that image. And if we kind of see this merely as just a comic character, we might not take it seriously. I guess it's very good. That's why we're so in touch with the scriptures. How often we hear those scriptures on Sunday and weekdays where Jesus is going up against those demons. None of them look like the devil with the pitchfork and the pointy horns and the red outfit, but they are still very real. We know that he is fighting against those powers of evil in our world. We know he's always victorious over those powers of evil in our world as well. Screwtape tells Wormwood, I have not forgotten my promise to consider whether we should make the patient an extreme patriot or an extreme pacifist. All extremes, except extreme devotion to the enemy, are to be encouraged. Again, one of the reoccurring themes is the extremes, one or the other, not finding the middle ground, not finding the truth between the two extremes. We hear about the man getting involved possibly with a little group. We're told that we want the church to be small, not only that fewer men may know the enemy, but those who do may acquire the uneasy intensity and the defensive self-righteousness of a secret society or a clique. This goes back to even in the early church. There was a group that we called the Gnostics. They were came from the word knowledge. They believed that they were the only ones who had the truth. They were the only ones who had the secrets. And so everybody else didn't have that. I remember reading one time the difference between a church and a cult. And one of the main ones was that a church is open. It'll tell you what it believes. It will invite more people in. It isn't just this closed off little group. But we still, even within that, we know that there can be some problems. Screwtape tells Wormwood, The church herself is, of course, heavily defended. We have never quite succeeded in giving her all of the characteristics of a faction, but subordinate factions within her have produced admirable results, from the parties of Paul and Apollos at Corinth down to the high and low parties in the Church of England. Again, if the devil can't work against the church, he can try to work with the people in there to get them divided. No, what I believe is right. No, what I believe is right. And to get them fighting. And again, what is it's one of the great scandals of Christianity is that the church is not one, as Christ prayed for on the night of the Last Supper. He prayed that his church would be one. But of course we know it's divided, and that causes some great problems. The fact that we have Catholics and Protestants and Orthodox and all those various groups really hurts our ability to speak the truth, because everybody says, well, which truth do we follow? We know that, we all believe in Christ as God. But again, wouldn't it be better if there was one group in our world rather than a bunch of individual groups, each with a different message of why our particular version of this is right? So then, we're told, whichever he adopts, the main task will be the same. Let it begin by treating patriotism or the pacifism as part of his religion. It's amazing how it's easy to take on a particular idea, especially a particularly lofty idea, and start to decide that that's really what our religion is all about. I hate to say it, but if you ever read the comment sections in a lot of social media, you'll see there's a lot of people who have basically created religion in their image and likeness. It's what they think it should be, as they're trying to explain it. That's why it's always good that we have the Catechism of the Church. It tells us what the church is and what the church believes, and keeps us from falling into that idea of making it into whatever we want. We see, so often that we can see people who decide the whole Christian message is social justice, or the only thing the whole Christian message is tied up in the Latin liturgy. We lose sight of the whole when we start looking at these little pieces, that this little part of what the church is. Yes, the church is and does teach social justice. But if that becomes our definition of what the church is, we're making a mistake. Or if we're coming up with the idea that, this little way to worship, which is legitimate in the church, is the only way, we're making our personal preference into the whole picture. And again, we have to always be careful with that we don't take the bits and pieces and try to make that into the whole, or take one individual piece and make it into the whole. I can't help notice, though, when he talks about when you want to gradually make the cause, that quietly and gradually nurse him to the stage at which religion becomes merely part of the cause in which Christianity is valued, chiefly because of the excellent arguments it can produce in favor of the British war or pacifism. Now imagine that, and you take British war or pacifism, replace it by Democrat or Republican. When you think about how often people have tried even to take and you co-opt the church and to say, this is why my political party is right. Because, see, the church supports these things, so does my political party. I've said over and over again, we always have to remember, the church is neither Democrat nor Republican, but yet at the same time, both Democrat and Republican. So again, we're not about causes. We're about proclaiming the gospel. We're about getting out there and making, converts to Christ. It's not just this particular piece. And so we need the scriptures. We need the catechism. We need that stuff to keep reminding us of what it is that we are truly trying to go out and preach.